Hello and welcome. We are live from the capital city of the Czech Republic, which is Prague, known for its incredible spires and amazing architecture, but from now on shall be known and renowned for the Gran Turismo World Series Round 2, as we have some of the best sim racers in the world battling it out to be on top. Why don't we find out who that's going to be as we kick off Round 2 of the Manufacturers' Cup.
Incredible city, and we're so glad that you're here to join us, as is this wonderful crowd of beautiful people as well. Give it up for yourselves. Come on, let's give it up for the crowd. Now, if you joined us in Montreal, you know a little bit about how this all goes down, but we thought we'd just give you a quick little recap of the competition format.
The Manufacturers' Cup features 12 teams of 3 drivers. These teams were selected from the 2024 online series ranking. There's 1 player per team from each of 3 global regions: Americas, EMEA and Asia-Oceania. 1 driver per team will race in each round, then all 3 will compete together at the World Finals at the end of the year. In the qualifying time trial, each driver will set a time over 1 attack lap. The results determine the grid position for the grand final race. In this grand final, 1 driver per team will race for World Series points. So, what's at stake? Well, only the top 6 teams score points. That, when combined with the points from round 1 in Canada, will give us the current series ranking. But only 1 team will be crowned winner of round 2 of the Manufacturers' Cup.
Let's take a look at the points tables as we head into round 2 here in Prague. Lexus lead Honda and Porsche, Mercedes AMG, Mazda and Toyota all off of the bottom of the scoreboard. Subaru, Genesis, Ferrari, Chevrolet, BMW and Audi all yet to score so far. And the competitors in 2024, for this round at least, we see Daniel Fenton and Mohamed Badima, 2 Britons, making their debut in the Gran Turismo World Series. And a look at the competition format for 2024. 12 drivers competing in the Nations Cup, 12 teams in the Manufacturers' Cup. There are 4 live events throughout 2024. We kicked off things in Montreal, then we're in Prague now, then we go to Tokyo, and then we've got our World Finals in December. 12 drivers in the Nations Cup. They compete in all 4 of those live events. In the Manufacturers' Cup, it's 3 different sets of drivers in rounds 1, 2 and 3. Then they come together as part of that team for the World Finals. So 3 drivers competing for Porsche, 3 drivers competing for Subaru. They've got to work together as a team, and all of these points are going to be accumulated over the course of the 2024 season. So every round is going to be critical for the drivers, not only in the Manufacturers' Cup, but the Nations Cup, if they all want to be crowned as world champions. A look at the starting grid sees 3 debutants in the top 3 positions: Mohamed Badima for Ferrari, Benjamin Hengsay for Porsche and Daniel Fenton for Mercedes AMG occupying the top 3 positions. Can they convert it to podiums though at their debut World Series event? A look at the race details for the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final sees us at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Medium, soft, intermediate and wet tyres for the drivers over 28 laps, meaning there's changeable weather, and that could prove to be very interesting indeed for strategy. So, winners' predictions: 36% reckon it'll go the way of Coque Lopez for Lexus, but he's right at the back of the field. Here's the grid for the grand final then. Bedima and Ferrari on pole, Hengse and Porsche alongside on the front row. Row 2, Daniel Fenton for Mercedes AMG. And alongside him, you've got Kylian Drumont in the Subaru BRZ. Next up, Thomas Leboutelet for France in the BMW M6. And Paul Ura in the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept. Then it's Jose Serrano for Toyota down in 7th place ahead of Ran de Rouche in the Chevrolet Corvette C7. Next up is Nico Romero for Genesis. Podium for them, don't forget, in the World Finals at the end of last year. He's just ahead of Audi's Daniel Penco. The final row of the grid is Mateo Estevez for Argentina and for Honda, and for Coque Lopez and Lexus, the winners last time out, let's not forget. Let's see what will happen at a wet and wild Red Bull Ring as the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final gets underway. Mohamed Bedima and Porsche leads the field up in towards the first corner at the Red Bull Ring. You can see the rain is pouring down here at the moment, and the rolling start will be helping the drivers. They'll be grateful for that because it spreads the field out a little bit, allows no dive bomb moves and no outbraking opportunities into turn 1, but into the heavy braking zone of turn 3. This is the first real overtaking opportunity. Bedima it is, though, that still leads from Hengse from Fenton. Few position changes a little bit further back, but nice and easy for the rest of the field. On board we are now with lap 2 and with Paul Ura for Mazda. He's just in behind Ran de Rouche in the Chevrolet and Kylian Drumont in the Subaru. They're heading through the left kink of turn 2, then the heavy braking zone of turn 3. De Rouche up the inside of Drumont. There's going to be a bit of contact between the two as it tightens up on the exit of the corner. That pushes Drumont wide and allows Ura to come through on the inside as they go side by side. So Drumont losing 2 places in the space of a few hundred metres could possibly also open the door here for Thomas Leboutelet in the BMW and maybe Jose Serrano. Leboutelet shuffling to the outside, trying to go through on Drumont and on Ura there as well. The risk is that there's going to be a little bit less traction on the outside with more standing water on that part of the circuit, but he manages to make it through all okay. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of the field, Bedima for Ferrari and Hengse for Porsche leading the way quite comfortably at the moment. Through the final corner, those two come. Look at the gap they've already been able to build over Daniel Fenton at the end of the third lap. 3.5 seconds it sits between those two drivers. On board here we are with Jose Serrano and Leboutelet. Gets a bit messy into here. Oh, Serrano late on the brakes, up through into the gravel. And unfortunately that is the Spaniards' race pretty much done and dusted really before it's begun. There's the weather radar you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Keep an eye out for that because when it goes into the lighter colours, that means the rain is going to stop. And you can see already we're going through quite a heavy patch of rain at the moment, but the indication is, as the wind moves sort of northwest, that it's going to ease up a little bit later on in the race, which means strategy will be critical. Now, here's Thomas Leboutelet on the back of Kylian Drumont for 5th position. Drumont going defensive. Was there maybe a bit of contact into turn 3 there? There was. It just sent Drumont a little bit wide. Oh, and more contact sends the Frenchman round. What a shame for Kylian Drumont. So we've seen a few laps in the space of a few instances, in the space of a few laps, I should say, rather, for Jose Serrano and for Kylian Drumont. Serrano down into 11th, Drumont down into 12th, and Leboutelet picking up a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well, which he's about to serve. That's going to release Paul Ura into a bit of clear air. There is the penalty being served for Leboutelet as Ura goes through in the Mazda. Does Estevez get the better of him? Don't think he did. Let's have a look and see if we can piece together what happened here for Penco and Romero. Those two getting pretty close to one another. Lopez just on the back of this one as well in the Lexus. Needs a good race here, does Coque Lopez, because he's down in 10th position at the moment. No further investigations being pending there for Penco and Romero. So Audi and Genesis live to fight another day as Lopez gets it late on the brakes. And that's the problem with this wet weather. One mistake, one snatch brake cost you a lot of time. And Lopez here, let's have a listen. Yeah, you can just hear he locks up, doesn't he? Locks the rears going into there. He's out of control. Thankfully has enough room on the outside of the corner to not cause any problems, but it's cost him 2 places in turn with that, as well as Leboutelet now on the inside of Mateo Estevez. So BMW versus Honda here on the exit of the final corner. Across the timing line they go, lap 10 out of 28. And I dare say the rain looks like it's starting to ease off now at this stage. It's certainly coming down, but I would say with a less of an intensity than it was earlier on. Those grey clouds, a small smattering of sunshine just looking to break through some of the lighter parts of it. Here's Leboutelet. So Estevez ran it wide. A little bit of contact maybe between the two. Out of the penultimate corner, Leboutelet in the BMW M6 through and into that place of 6th position. Meanwhile, Drumont now on the fight back following his earlier dramas in the race, as we saw. Now onto the back of Nico Romero's Genesis. as he exits out of the final turn. Laboutelet picking up another 1 second penalty for a collision. That presumably will be for that bit of contact we saw with Mateo Estevez, gaining an unfair advantage. Of course, gaining the place and not giving it back. So, not going well so far for Thomas Laboutelet, but if stroke when the conditions do change, that will be the prime opportunity, maybe for the likes of Laboutelet, for Romero, possibly even for Coque Lopez, right down mired in 12th position at the moment, to try something a little bit bold, because if it dries out a little bit, they can go on to the intermediate compound of tyres. If it dries out a lot, they can go on to the dry compound of tyres. But is anybody going to be brave enough to take that gamble? If you do it too soon, you're going to have no grip at all. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you've got no grip, that you're just going to be sliding around like a dog on a polished floor, waiting for the track to dry out enough. And by that point, it could be too late. You could have lost the time that you would have gained from having that one fewer pit stop. There's Laboutelet serving his 1 second penalty, drops him back into the clutches of Estevez. But the Argentinian in the Honda not quite close enough to mount an attack at the moment. Through the final corner we go. Badima, Hengsay and Fenton still leading this one quite commandingly, so they sit as it stands for now in first, second and third. This is the battle for 8th position I should say, between Romero and Drumont. The Genesis has always been pretty handy in a straight line. It's been the Achilles heel of the Subaru, and Drumont, nothing he can do there. Romero, I have to say, a little bit late moving under braking, allows the door to be open though for Drumont on the inside, and possibly Serrano seizing the opportunity and the initiative here as well as we come down this straight into turn 4. We're now side by side, so Romero's gone from attacking to defending to losing places here as they head in towards turn 4. Serrano's got the inside line. He'll have track position, but has Romero got more grip on the outside of that corner where the marbles get onto the outside off of the traditional racing line? In wet conditions, it can actually be a bit of a help, but on this case, Romero not able to take advantage. Here's Jura, meanwhile, lunging to the inside of Laboutelet. Contact between the two. That allows Mateo Estevez to go through into 5th place. He says thanks very much as he gains 2 places in the space of 1 corner, and Jura and Laboutelet left to scrap it out now as they come into the penultimate turn. Laboutelet in the BMW on the recovery, of course. Now, who's that diving into the pit lane at the end of lap 18? I think that may possibly have been, it is Mateo Estevez in the Honda, so he's come in on the wet tyres. You can see the track drying out. Now, where's he going to go? He's the first driver to blink. Will he go intermediates? Or will he gamble on dries? I think it's still a bit too wet for dries at this stage, but if it carries on drying out, some may stay out on the wet tyres and then go on to the dry tyres, gain a free pit stop. Intermediate tyres it is for Mateo Estevez. No surprise there at all. That'll release him right to the back of the field, but if he's in clear air here, he can take advantage of those intermediate tyres because he is going to be significantly faster than the likes of Coque Lopez, Daniel Penco, Nico Romero in front of him. The question is anybody going to follow suit? Yes, they are. Race leader Mohamed Badima comes into the pit lane then, off of the wet tyres for the Briton in the Ferrari. Surely he's going to have to go intermediate as well. I can't see a way that he can jump onto the dry tyres at this stage because the track's still just too wet. If you go out on the slicks, you're going to have no grip at all, be sliding around, and you could lose 10, 15, 20 seconds in the space of a couple of laps. Intermediate tyres it is then for Badima. Penco also in as well. Now, where does Badima emerge here? He's 4th position, right behind Daruish. So that's going to be a critical point here for Badima, because if he can get those intermediate tyres in the right operating window whilst Daruish is still on the wet tyres, Badima can just cruise up to the back and cruise past him, in theory. But, of course, in practice, it's not quite as simple as that. And you can see now almost a darker, drier line beginning to appear on the racing line. So the track certainly is drying out. You can see the windscreen wipers are still on for some drivers, but Daruish has got them off now, and the sun is beginning to beam through the clouds here, and the dry line is getting ever more pronounced. Now Badima right on the back of Daruish, so intermediate versus wet tyre. What's this going to be like for Mohamed Badima? He's on the inside. They're going to flick him into a left-hander here. Daruish will have track position, but has he got the grip underneath him to hold on to 3rd place? You can see them both on the left-hand side of your screen. Badima's going to have the inside line. That'll be a late lunge through there. There's a bit of contact between the two, but he's firming it out here as Badima. Daruish is going to get muscled out to the curb, and Badima's going to go driving on by, surely with more grip under braking, into the next corner. He does. Badima is through and into 3rd place. Darush then into the pit lane. He wants to get off the wet tyre, but he goes onto the dries. So he's the first driver to take that gamble onto the dry tyres at the start of lap 22. And other drivers following in the same strategy. Thomas Laboutelet, Jose Serrano and surely Coque Lopez. They've got to go for the dries. The track's drying out. The intermediates, though they're the right tyre to be on at the moment, in 3 or 4 laps time, the slicks are surely going to be faster if the track continues drying in the same trajectory as it has done for the last couple of laps. This is going to be absolutely critical and possibly leave some drivers under threat. So Badima in 3rd place is on the intermediates. He now can't afford another pit stop in the closing stages of this race because he'll lose too much time and the victory will be slipping through his fingers. Hengse into the pits. He's surely going to go onto the dry tyres. He does. He goes on to the softs then. What about Daniel Fenton? He's not blinked at the start of this race. So in the Mercedes-AMG, he decides to stay out on the wet tyres and see if he can firm it on that for now. But I think he's just going to be hemorrhaging time and possibly costing himself an opportunity of a podium. Well, this is going to be a dramatic conclusion then to this race. If Badima sticks it out on the intermediate tyres, I personally can't see a way that he can do anything but that because he hasn't got the gap in his pocket. It's about 16, 17 seconds of pit loss time that he'll lose if he comes into the box again. Here is Darush with Jura and Estevez meanwhile, and they just go sliding on through against Estevez. Darush on the dry tyres, Jura still on the intermediate tyres at the moment. And yeah, you can see quite clearly that dry line very much pronounced now. And the dry tyres very much the ones to be on. Jura then moving over off of the dry racing line to try and cool those intermediates down to give him a bit more of a fighting chance as he heads into the braking zone. Keep an eye out as well, right at the back of this train, for Thomas Laboutelet. We've seen him in the wars with 2 penalties so far in this race, but he could be absolutely critical in terms of the podium battle because he's now right on the back of Daniel Fenton for 4th position, and he's going to drive on by against the Briton who has boxed at the end of this one but has cost himself an opportunity of a podium. Here comes Darush though from absolutely nowhere, splits between the 2 drivers. Oh no! Daniel Fenton gets hit off the circuit, contact into turn 3. Let's have another look. So Laboutelet there, here comes Darush. He splits between Laboutelet and Fenton. Fenton's on the outside of Drumont. There's a bit of contact between Darush and Drumont. I think that just upset him and sent him then in turn into the side of Daniel Fenton. For my money, that's a racing incident. Anyway, we're now on the final lap of racing. It's Badima for the race lead on the intermediate tyres for the victory against Hengse on the dry tyres, and Hengse has been peeling chunks out of his lead over the last few laps. It's down to 2.5 seconds and Hengse has been gaining over 3 seconds a lap, so it is game on for the race victory. Hengse needs the perfect lap. Badima needs Hengse to have an absolute shocker here in order to be crowned as the victor because his back is well and truly against the wall. Dramatic conclusion then to this race in the grand final as we head down into turn 4. 2 seconds the gap now between Badima and Hengse, and this is where that dry tyre on this now dry circuit will be at an advantage here for Benjamin Hengse because he will have more grip in these medium speed corners in the middle sector of this lap. Badima has got to drive this one absolutely perfectly and not allow Hengse to have an opportunity, but look at the gap now. It's down to 1 second with less than half a lap to go. Badima leading in Ferrari, Hengse chasing in the Porsche. 2 corners remaining as Hengse then stays on the dry line. Badima moves over to the wet part of the track. 2 corners down. Look at the gap that is closing here between Hengse and Badima. Hengse goes for the outside line. Badima defends. It's down to the final corner. It's a drag to the line as we come to the checkered flag. Badima has done it here in Prague. He wins the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final. What a fantastic race. Hengse in second and Laboutelet in third.
How did you manage to stay so focused? Because, you know, this is your first time being here. It's a lot of pressure. You know, there's a massive audience here. And, you know, a lot of people keep it together. And then, you know, on the final couple of laps, just the pressure gets... How did you keep it together?
I just thought about what's the possibility if I won. So as I was leading in the last few laps, I thought to myself, keep it together. Even if the worst case scenario, get a P2, I could see we still had quite a gap to everyone behind. So I thought, play it safe, worst case scenario, podium. So just thought, take it easy. Worst case scenario, podium. If only my life was that exciting. This guy, this is his first time ever here. He just walked away with it. Let's give him a big round of applause. We'll throw it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Wow, what a race for Mohamed Badima, taking victory for Ferrari on his debut ahead of Benjamin Hengse for Porsche and Thomas Laboutelet for BMW, Romero for Genesis, Euro for Mazda and Lopez for Lexus completing the points finishers, and the World Series points ranking see Porsche now having a 2-point swing over Lexus and 3 points over Ferrari in the tables. And now time for the awards to be presented then by Gran Turismo Series producer Kazunori Yamauchi. And of course it is awarded to the winner of this event for the Manufacturers' Cup for Ferrari. Mohamed Badima takes top honours. Helps Ferrari out in the table as well. What a fantastic race from the young Briton. Also from Benjamin Hengse, as well as Thomas Laboutelet on the podium. Fantastic job in the Manufacturers' Cup. Means it's setting us up an absolute treat in the standings as we head into the third World Series event in Tokyo as well. Here are some highlights from the event. You can see disappointment for some, delight for some other drivers, but that brings an end to the Manufacturers' Cup. On the way next, we've got Nations Cup action to bring you, and it's going to be very exciting racing, I'm sure.
Welcome, one and all. We are coming to you live from Prague in the Czech Republic for the Gran Turismo World Series Nations Cup Round 2. Now, earlier on, it was all about the Manufacturers' Cup, but right now, it's all about national pride as our best drivers go toe-to-toe to find out who will be the best while the world is watching. Can they handle the pressure, you ask? Let's find out. Now, if this is your first time, or maybe your 7th time watching us, it's super important that you understand exactly how the Nations Cup is going to break down. Let's look at the comp format.
Here's how the Nations Cup competition breaks down. Racing are the 12 fastest drivers from the 2024 online qualifiers. Each of these drivers will get a chance to set a time over one attack lap. The qualifying round determines grid order for the sprint race. The sprint race then sets the grid order for the grand final. All 12 drivers then battle it out in the grand final, with the top 6 securing World Series points, which will be added to the results from round 1 in Montreal. First place gets a shiny trophy and declared winner of round 2 of the Nations Cup World Series.
And here's a look at the competitors who will be on the grid for round 2 of the Nations Cup for the Gran Turismo World Series. Takuma Miyazono from Asia will be looking to add to his victory tally so far this season. And here's the first race of the day then for the Nations Cup drivers. Iger Norwund in the Honda RA272 on comfort soft tyres. This race will decide the grid for the grand finals, and here is how they will line up ahead of this sprint race then. Miyazono on pole ahead of Gallo and Roach, Takuma Sasaki, Serrano and Guy Barbara completing the top 6. Time to go racing then for the sprint in the Nations Cup as we get ready to go, as Takuma Miyazono leads the field across the timing line from Valerio Gallo, from Callum Roach into the braking zone of turn 1 in these Honda RA272s. Callum Roach there looking to the outside of Valerio Gallo. So tight and twisty it is through these first couple of corners, but Miyazono's done enough to hold on to the race lead with 3 wide there in the background for position. These comfort soft tyres don't offer a lot of grip. It's kind of akin to what we would have had back in Formula 1 cars in the 60s when they were on those cross-ply tyres, which had about as much grip as a block of wood really underneath you. But you can see here now on the lap 3 that Miyazono is holding on to the race lead from Valerio Gallo. Through the penalty zone they go and over the bridge as we head through into the right-handed hairpin. This is where we've seen so many drivers making mistakes, and Gallo runs it wide. He's into the wall. Miyazono just about manages to avoid that one there as a 2-second penalty is awarded to Kylian Drumont for a collision with another car. Is Sasaki going to be able to take profit of Gallo's mistake? No, not quite. Miyazono still leads. Gallo sizing up an opportunity. Penultimate lap of racing we're on now then here as we come across the timing line. It's Miyazono versus Gallo. The result of this race, just to remind you, determines the grid for the grand final. And it's coming down to the final couple of corners. Miyazono runs it wide. Gallo's on the inside. It's a drag to the line. Miyazono takes it by 7/100ths of a second from Gallo and Sasaki. Well, a dramatic final lap then in the sprint race sees Takuma Miyazono taking victory from Valerio Gallo and Takuma Sasaki. That's where they'll line up on the grid for the grand final, which will take place here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit in the Red Bull X 2019. Racing hard, medium and soft tyres available for the drivers over the course of a 32-lapper, and they've got to use at least 2 or more tyre compounds. Here's what we're expecting the strategy to be. If you start on the soft tyres, you'll do 2 stints on those, then change over to the mediums for the final half of the race, and basically the reverse of that for the medium compound of tyre. We're not really expecting the hard tyres to be used, but you never know what may happen. The winner's prediction here sees Takuma Miyazono the favourite of the lot. Can he make it 2 from 2 in the Nations Cup for the Gran Turismo World Series? And so then to the grand final, Miyazono lines up on pole position. Valerio Gallo, former champion, alongside him for company. Then it is Takuma Sasaki in 3rd position, and 4th place is Callum Roach, the American driver. Next up on the grid is Guy Barbara for Australia. 6th place for Kai de Bruyne, the Dutchman hoping for a podium here in these machines. Adriano Carrazza lines up P7. And then 8th place is Jose Serrano in the Red Bull X 2019. 9th position, Angel Inestrosa for Chile. And 10th place, Kylian Drumont. Difficult sprint race for him. Sees him lining up at the back of the field with Robbie Heck in 11th. And then Koke Lopez down there in 12th position. A lot of work for him to do. The grand final for the Nations Cup. It's lights out and we're underway. Who will be claiming the checkered flag and, crucially, the championship lead as we head into round 3 in Tokyo? Only outlier on the grid is Koke Lopez, starting on the soft compound of tyre. Let's see whether that proves to be an inspired decision. But Miyazono it is that leads then through the first 2 corners from Gallo, from Sasaki. Down the hill we go, through into the right-hander. Here is Kai de Bruyne. Callum Roach also in the mix there as well. This is the battle for 5th position. Nose-to-tail action here between these drivers. And look at the gap that Koke Lopez has already been able to build out then. 12th he was on the grid. He's up into 8th at the end of the first lap. Here's Guy Barbara on the back of Takuma Sasaki for 3rd place. Oh, Gallo's wide on the race lead there. And Miyazono's going to go scything on through. Action aplenty wherever you look here. Gallo looking for the outside line here. Oh no, Guy Barbara with contact, and off goes Jose Serrano in the drama there as well. Nose to tail action. It all concertinated up as they headed into the hairpin, and it sent Serrano off, and also Robbie Heck round as well just a couple of corners later. So what happened here then? Guy Barbara, I think he's going to move over. Yeah, he is on Koke Lopez. Didn't see Lopez in his mirrors. And that sends him spinning on round and out of contention really for this one. But Lopez then on lap 8 has closed the gap right up on Kai de Bruyne, who's now leading this one, who's managed to make his way up through the field. And Lopez on the soft tyre now leads on lap 8. The problem is, though, those soft tyres are going to be coming towards the end of their shelf life in the next couple of laps, whereas the mediums have got more longevity but are slower over the course of one lap. So it's worked out really nicely here for Lopez, able to take advantage on that soft tyre. And you can see now De Bruyne is able to retaliate and attack through on the inside. Sasaki there just gets balked ever so slightly by De Bruyne, who was a bit slow on the apex. It allows Miyazono now back through and into 3rd position. But Lopez then it is that leads. Now when is he going to blink and go into the pit lane? That's the crucial question here as we head into the final corner. Lopez, I reckon he's got maybe one, possibly two more laps left in him on this soft tyre. No, he comes in at the end of lap 9 then, so onto the medium tyre, and changing his strategy in this race then is Coque Lopez. They must use 2 tyre compounds, just to remind you. So soft tyres onto mediums for Lopez. He's used now 2 tyre compounds in this one, and he's right behind Guy Barbara in 11th position. But the thing is, look at this gaggle of cars all fighting for position as we head in towards the chicanes. Miyazono, Gallo, all line astern with one another. Miyazono and De Bruyne now side by side here for second. This sort of racing, spectacular though it is, I don't know quite how sustainable it is going to prove to be. Someone surely is going to have to bite the bullet at some point and end up with a bit of contact, and surely we're going to get drivers coming into the pit lane before too long just to get out of the melee and the mayhem. It's still playing into the hands of the likes of Coque Lopez, who's on that alternate strategy. De Bruyne and Carrazza then into the pit lane, likewise Jose Serrano, and surely they are going to go for the soft tyre. They do, but they're not going to be able to run that to the end of the race, so they'll go soft tyre for now, and then they'll change to the soft tyre for a second stint later on in the race. Let's see how they decide to work it out. Down in towards the chicane we go, and into this right-hander here. Nose-to-tail action as Miyazono's just been able to build out near enough of a half-second advantage over Valerio Gallo, but just a few corners later that's all set to change as a lot of drivers coming to the pits at the end of lap 15 then. So Miyazono, Gallo, Roach and Drumont all into the box then, off of the mediums onto the softs, and they will emerge from the pit lane. Now where is Lopez in all of this? He is on the medium tyres, and he's now managed to bring himself up right through into contention onto the back of Takuma Sasaki. Some 7 seconds is the gap that he has got to Sasaki, but that's really nice there for Coque Lopez because he's got clear track in front of him. Inestrosa though is the outlier on this one because he's on the soft tyre and he's trying to attack. Oh, there's contact and it sends Inestrosa round. The problem is going on the outside through those S-bends, you just can't do 2x2 through there. Let's have another look. So Lopez was a bit wide on the curb. Inestrosa on the soft tyre against the mediums has got more drive, goes for the outside line. Lopez just ran it a bit deep through there, I think, and maybe a snap of oversteer. It sends Inestrosa off into the gravel, and it sends him out of contention, sadly, for the race win. Well, now on lap 21 of the 32, you can see the soft tyre runners have been able to build out that gap and pass Coque Lopez, but that's okay for Lopez if it stands as it is for now, because he of course has got to make I'm sure another pit stop later on in this race, go onto the soft tyres. He'll have fresh rubber, whereas everybody else around him will be on very worn soft tyres, and that will mean he should have a pace advantage in the closing stages of this race. So it's Miyazono from Serrano, from Gallo on lap 21. Serrano has a moment there out of the final corner. Gallo says thanks very much and goes through and into second. Drumont there in 4th position as well. He's just got Callum Roach for company behind him for 5th place. You can see the pit stop history on the left-hand side of your screen. The only outlier really is Coque Lopez, who's doing the reverse strategy compared to everybody else. So, into the hairpin bend we go. The final corner on this circuit. There is Callum Roach, the American driver, right on the coattails of Kylian Drumont here. Does anybody box at the end of lap 22? Yeah, quite a handful of drivers actually, including Miyazono and Gallo from the top 2 places in this race. So Roach and Lopez carry on. Roach is trying to eke out the soft tyres for as long as he can. Lopez, of course, is on the medium tyres, so they'll run a little bit longer later on in the race. Out of the pit lane then comes your former race leader, Takuma Miyazono. Where's he going to emerge? Right behind Takuma Sasaki, but he's on the medium tyres now. Sorry, the soft tyres is Miyazono. Fresher soft tyres for that matter as well. Sasaki just behind Kai De Bruyne here. De Bruyne on the mediums, who again won't be quite so quick on the 1-lap pace, but could prove to be beneficial for him later on. Now Roach and Lopez in then. So Roach will go onto the soft tyres once again. Lopez will go onto the soft tyres for the final pass of this race, but his soft tyres are going to be fresher compared to those around him. And as we head in towards this game, you can see Lopez Miyazono versus Sasaki then as they come on the exit of the corner. Sasaki's going to get roughed out here to the curb. It's going to get pretty close as we head 3 wide down in towards the right-hander. Sasaki's going to be on the outside, Miyazono on the inside. Could this be an opportunity here for Jose Serrano to try and take profit as well? No, not quite, but De Bruyne it is that leads then, still on the medium tyres, from Gallo, from Miyazono, from Sasaki, as they come down through these fast sweeping S-bends. No tail action it is for the race lead. De Bruyne goes defensive, Gallo goes for the outside line and attacks on the Frenchman. Miyazono looking to the inside here. This is going to get a bit messy as Miyazono's got the inside line. Has he got track position? Yes, he has. 2 places in the space of 1 corner there for the Japanese driver. De Bruyne's going to get roughed out to the outside here, almost losing another place there to possibly Jose Serrano as well. And De Bruyne now back through into the race lead, but for how long as we head down in towards the hairpin bend. Miyazono on the inside, De Bruyne on the outside. Gallo still close there with Drummond and Serrano side by side in the background. Serrano's through and up into 4th position as we head across the timing line. Miyazono now still defending here from Kai De Bruyne. De Bruyne's on the inside line and back through into the race lead, or is he? Because Miyazono's going to go on the curb. De Bruyne's out wide. That allows Gallo to go through. 2 places in the space of 1 corner here for Valerio Gallo. Serrano now through on the inside of Kai De Bruyne and back into 4th place, but only for a brief moment as De Bruyne's back up into 3rd once again at the next corner. Well, this is dramatic to the end of this run, and it's playing right into the hands of the likes of Coque Lopez here in the closing stages, because look at him, he's right on the back of this gaggle of cars. And he is on a lot fresher soft tyres compared to his competitors around him. So he could be quids in for the podium if he's able to run a nice clean race, as these 5, 6, 7 drivers have all been knocking 7 bells out of one another in the closing stages of this one. Serrano here, once again with Kai De Bruyne, to the outside line. Serrano, can he do it on the outside? Yes, he can. He's got track position and he's got the place as we start lap number 26. Gallo then keeping a watching brief on proceedings as they still run side by side for the race lead. It's going to go 3 abreast heading down to the first corner. Gallo in the middle, Serrano on the right, De Bruyne on the outside. Serrano runs it deep into the chicane. De Bruyne's on the outside ready to try and take advantage as they go wing mirror to wing mirror heading down in towards the right-hander. Serrano's going to have track position. De Bruyne's rough to the outside line here. Gallo's just going to be able to pick up the pieces if it goes wrong for any of these drivers. De Bruyne loses the race lead, possibly set to lose 2nd place here to Valerio Gallo as we head down in towards the sweeping S's then, and De Bruyne does manage to hold on to 2nd place for now, but he's challenging for the race lead just a couple of corners later. Once again, here we go into the chicane, 4 abreast almost. Serrano on the inside, Gallo on the inside. Drummond fancies a piece of the action as we head under the hairpin bend and in towards the chicane then. So it is Serrano from Gallo, from Drummond, from Miyazono, and only a handful of laps left in this race. It's anybody's guess as to who's going to take victory. Drummond pulls to the outside. Gallo now side by side with the Frenchman as Drummond tries to sweep it around for 2nd place at the final corner. Can he do it? It's going to be mightily close between the two as they come to the timing line, and Drummond then does manage to get the better, albeit briefly, of Valerio Gallo, and keep an eye out for Coque Lopez now. He's right on the back of Kai De Bruyne. De Bruyne just losing a place there to Valerio Gallo, and Lopez now through into 3rd place. In the background there, that's Miyazono and Sasaki, the 2 Japanese drivers who are going round like a tabletop. Oh, and Serrano in the drama there as well. Let's have a look at the replay and see if we can piece together what happened. So Drummond going for the lead then against Jose Serrano into the chicane of turn 2. And Serrano runs it a little bit deep. He's going to come back onto the track. Oh, De Bruyne biffed into the back of him. The 2 Japanese drivers of Sasaki and Miyazono with nowhere to go there, just innocent victims in all of that. But we're ready to start the final lap of racing. We're on board here then with Kylian Drummond. He sits just behind Coque Lopez and Valerio Gallo. 3 drivers battling for the victory as we start the final lap of racing then here, and Gallo it is that leads. Lopez has a half look to the inside into the chicane, but nothing doing for him through there. Out of the exit of the corner we go, and in towards that fast sweeping right-hander. Lopez though is going to encounter a little bit of dirty air coming through this next series of corners, and that could put him a little bit under pressure, maybe from Drummond. But Lopez surely will have more grip under braking from Valerio Gallo and force the Italian to have to try and defend. The outlier here could be Kylian Drummond as well. Keep an eye out for him. He sits in 3rd position. Will he have a lunge to the inside of Lopez? Gallo goes defensive then as we come over the crest of the hill. into the hairpin bend we go. Gallo still holds on to the race lead. Lopez in second position, and Drummond now closing up onto the back with just a few corners now remaining as we head through the chicane. You can't go 2 by 2 through here, and the drivers are going to have to set something up on the exit of this corner and into the final turn then. Lopez looking to the outside of Valerio Gallo. Drummond through on the inside for second place as well. Oh, contact between Drummond and Lopez. Spins Lopez round. Gallo wins the Nations Cup Grand Final. Drummond takes second, and Coque Lopez limps home in third place ahead of Robbie Heck and Kai de Bruin. What a dramatic conclusion to the race, and it sees Coque Lopez trying to take the victory, but contact with him and Drummond right at the very end of that one, sadly denying the Spaniard the opportunity to do so. It's Valerio Gallo, the Italian, who takes the checkered flag and takes a very well-deserved victory here in the Nations Cup Grand Final for the Gran Turismo World Series 2 in Prague. Absolutely fantastic.
This race was so stressing. I think you saw that, and I was fighting with everything on the track. Like, I was literally, like, I was feeling a bit slow in the beginning, and I was like trying to save the tires a bit. Sorry, but of course, yeah, with the slipstream, like, you had to be so careful on the overtakes. And of course, like, most of the guys were trying overtakes when they had the chance, of course. But yeah, it's been a very, very hard first part of the race, of course. And actually, I don't know how I made it to the end, like avoiding all the episodes on the track. And man, I don't know what to say. But thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
3 drivers that close to the podium. Valerio Gallo takes victory and 6 points heading into round 3 ahead of Kylian Drummond and Coque Lopez, who should be happy, but I'm sure will be a little bit disappointed after not being crowned as the victor. Robbie Heck and Kai de Bruin, as well as Guy Barra, completing the points finishes. And the points rankings then see Coque Lopez 1 point now ahead of Valerio Gallo, and Robbie Heck tied on points there with Takuma Miyazono ahead of Drummond and de Bruin. Only Roach, Inestrosa and Carrazza are yet to score so far in the 2024 GT World Series. Well, for the second time tonight, the Italian national anthem plays out here in Prague, and once again, Kazunori Yamauchi, producer of the Gran Turismo series, is ready to hand the winner's trophy, this time to Valerio Gallo for Italy, as he holds it aloft, the winner of the Nations Cup in Gran Turismo World Series 2 here in Prague, joined on the podium by Kylian Drummond and Coque Lopez. What a race! And here we now look at some highlights from the Nations Cup event. What a fantastic second World Series event we've had here in the Czech Republic. A great crowd supporting our drivers as well, and of course, most importantly, spectacular racing on the track. Disappointment for Guy Barbara and for some other drivers as well, including Angel Inestrosa, but delights for others, including the likes of Coque Lopez, who made it from last up to third position. Jose Serrano, he'll be a little bit disappointed with that one, as will Takuma Miyazono and Takuma Sasaki. Lopez there spun around at the final corner. Gallo taking victory for Italy, his first in a very, very long time. And the next time we'll see these drivers is on the 28th of September as we head to round 3 in Tokyo.
PlayStation.